Takadosh Boker Or Bekiim Halacha 3, day 106, Siman 49, Halacha Tet. We're talking about now a blind person. So a blind person may say all the Pesukim which are written in the Torah by heart, since it's impossible for him to read it from a print. The Mitzvah Torah said he overrides the prohibition in such a case. Likewise, if someone has been imprisoned and has no printed books, again, he could say all these things, Balpeh, obviously in these cases. The Gemara brings down to do with Rav Yosef, that he was blind and he was fluent in Aramaic and everything, in Torah and Tanakh and everything. Surfside one explaining that Rav Yosef always said the translation, not the verse Pesuk itself. He would say the translation of it, right? But however, though, he comes and he says, Tosafot goes against this and he says no, that there's no problem whatsoever because of what we just mentioned. There are other Rishonim also concur with the first opinion. That means they're not allowed to say the pasuk; they could only say the translation of the pasuk. But again, right, look in the Bekiim Yosef. But despite this, they all say that there's no problem whatsoever. Halacha number 10. The poskim debated whether or not it's permissible to recite a translation by heart. There's sound basis for leniency in this matter, but you're not actually saying the pasuk, you're saying a translation to it. So 117, again, since the first opinion of the Tosafot says that Rav Yosef was not saying the pasuk, he was saying the translation, so therefore you see from this that there's no problem, right? That technically it should have been avoided, but since he was blind, that's why it's going to be permitted. So Divrei Shalom brings a proof from the Sefer HaEshkol. It's permissible to say these things by heart, and he ruled that we may be lenient, right? Right? We may be lenient in such a case when it's going to be difficult. Okay? Halacha number 11. The rule forbidding us to recite passages of the written Torah by heart applies to even one single word. The rule applies especially, right, equally to men, women, and children. There's no difference between men, women, and children, or even one word. Right? What about kri uktiv? There are many examples in the Torah where a word is spelled one way and we read it in a different way. So how does that work then? This is called kri uktiv. And it's a tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu to spell these words one way, and we read it a different way. For example, Devarim, whether it's going to be Vapalim or Vatechorim, there's many other ones as well. So therefore, the question is, so how are you reading it Balpeh? At the end of the day, it's written one way, and you're reading it a different way. So here, 118, he quotes, the Bet Yosef cites the Rashba. The Rashba speaks about Yishkalena and Yishkavena, which is another one. These are all in Kitavo, right? It poses a problem, since he has to say Balpeh. But how did you say Balpeh? So Bet Yosef added that one, he said the Spanish can't insist on reading these words that they are written. On the prayer of Yitzchak Abuav, Yitzchak Valansi and his son Shmuel Valansi, the rabbis warned the cantor to correct himself. And when he refused, he was pulled away from the school. He was put in Nidui. Okay, so the Sharei Ephraim ruled that he must look at the word as it's spelled and then pronounce it the Kri. Otherwise, he would be guilty of reading the word Balpeh. And the same applies to the name of Hashem Yud Kevavke, which means that you're looking at it, but you're not saying Yud Kevavke. You're saying Amonai. You're not saying Yeh. Right, Yeho, right? So, but you have to look at it and then you're going to say it. What about writing parts of the oral Torah? You cannot write it down. So, according to one opinion, if someone, this is Halacha number Yud Gimel 13, right? If someone publishes a book containing his novel Torah thoughts and his intentions are, at least in part, to gain fame and honor, he's guilty of writing Torah Shebal Peh. Chachamim decided us to write oral Torah in order to preserve it, because they said if not, it's going to be forgotten. It stands to reason, therefore, that if it's not the pure intention, so it's a sur. Nevertheless, the practice, it is permissible to publish books of Torah, even though you don't have pure intentions. Why? Because we should always learn Torah, even right. That's the content. You should always learn Torah, even if it's not going to be for pure intention, because hopefully it will become a pure intention. On the contrary, he says it's imperative for Torah scholar to publish his novel thoughts and discoveries during his lifetime and to ensure that they're not going to be lost. Unfortunately, that has been the fate of a lot of novel halachic discoveries, right, of many of the worthwhile Torah scholars. Look at the response from also the Khatam Sofer. Someone composes a sefer in order to enhance his own reputation, he's being transgressing the sin. He explains that Chachamim only gave it just for us to preserve the Torah, but not for anything else, right? And then afterwards, if this is true, the same would apply to a conversation also for the sake of earning a college degree. But the Rishon LeZion suggested that the Khatam Sofer's stringent view is consistent with his ruling that the prohibition discussed here of writing oral Torah. He says, a number of Rishonim have ruled clearly this prohibition was instituted by earlier Chachamim, and the Torah does not include such a prohibition. In fact, there's one opinion among the Rishonim that it was never forbidden to all write down oral Torah. It's just the way that we fulfill the mitzvah of doing oral Torah orally, but it's not that there's a yisur for that. So in fact, the response to the Daniyah, he challenged this position of the Khatam Sofer, and therefore a number of Acharonim also bring down, they disagree with the ruling Khatam Sofer, and that's also Rishon LeZion says that you could be lenient in writing down your Torah novelties. Have a wonderful day.